Hey, what up everybody? It's your boy Rev with another quick tutorial video. This one's a little different. My man Mars hit me up on the gram, said, hey Rev, I heard the Made For It track and I'm really digging the vocal stack. Do you sell presets? You know, do you sell the vocal chains? There's a lot of people doing it. Shout out to my mans over at Wave Monopoly, crushing it right now. I'm digging the new ads. They said, Rev, are you doing this? You know, the truth is, no, I'm not. And as much as it would be nice to package something up and sell it to you, the reality is I don't feel confident enough to do that with y'all. So I said, why not just give it to y'all for free? I'll give you the detail, you take a look. Whatever you guys like, you go and copy it, use it as you please. Of course, my vocal chain for the Made For It track obviously focused more on R&B. So I'm going to take you right into it. I've already got the session opened up in Studio One. I'm going to take you straight to the mixer so you can take a look at my vocal chain. We're going to talk about it a little bit. We'll play a little bit of music. You'll hear what's going on. We'll take it from there. So you can already take kind of a peek here. You can kind of see what I get into, how I kind of got things lined up. But the main focus is obviously going to be on these two channels, my background vocals and my lead vox. Of course, if you haven't heard the Made For It track, you can always go to my video. I'll put a link down below so that you can go and check it out and see what it's about. But I'm going to play it right now. You're going to hear it through this mic. I don't feel like doing all the voice meter and everything else right now. I'm just going to quickly allow y'all to hear how it sounds. So let me hit play real quick for those of you who haven't heard it before. Cool. So this is your first time hearing it. That is it right there. It sounds like a lot more is going on than really is. I actually did the vocals so that I could finish my production. That's normally why I end up putting vocals on tracks, just to kind of work out what I'm going to do with the production. In reality, guys, y'all should know, I do not sing. Let me say that again. I don't sing, I don't rap, I don't do any of that stuff. When I do put vocals on the track myself, it's really just so that I could work things out and kind of, see how my production works with vocals. Sometimes I'm a little too busy. Sometimes I haven't dropped enough out for my verse or for my bridge. So, that's the purpose of me putting vocals down. So I'm gonna take you straight to the background vocal track right here. All right. And I'm gonna solo that track just for a second so you can hear what that sounds like. All right. And that's what's singing the main hook. Let's check it out.
Everything you feel and everything that you need, the way your body's calling, it's calling me. And I'ma let you flaunt everything that you want. I work hard to pay for it. You know I was made for it.
Before I get too far, I don't have like an actual diploma or degree in doing music production or music engineering. So you guys who do, you might go in and see my vocal change and be like, what the heck is wrong with this guy? At the end of the day, the center of my truth is my ear, right? So when you hear my stuff and you're like, hey, that sounds dope, that's all I care about, right? I'm not necessarily trying to impress you with what techniques I use, this, that, or the third. At the end of the day, I do what I do to get a certain sound, to have it sound a certain way, all right? And that's it. So if that's your goal, is to get a certain sound, you can definitely see what I'm doing here and maybe be able to incorporate the techniques and whatnot into your own thing. If you're trying to be technically correct and your source of truth is not your ear, then I'm not the guy for it. I tell you, don't even watch the rest of the video, skip it, but subscribe to my channel anyway and like it before you do. Anyway, let's get right into it. All right, I'm on my background vocal track. Very first thing I have at the top of my chain is going to be auto-tune, right? I've got auto-tune, retune speeds at 6. I got to set the humanize a little bit. The EFX stuff is not on at all. You'll see that it's off. All right, this is really just because I'm not a singer and because my tone isn't very good. I do want to use auto tune to kind of keep my pitch right. So that's the very first thing in my chain. The next thing, I don't do vocals without the R channel, right? Yes, I see how heavily, you know, I've increased the decibels over here on the high end, right? I have a low cutoff, right? I'm cutting off my lows. I have a little bit of drop right here in the mud range, right? And then I'm up here. Okay, this is, you know, at the 4K range, the 12K range, I'm up. I'm trying to get a bit of brightness to that vocal for this specific track. I don't normally do that, but for what I was trying to do here to make it blend with what else I had going on, and I really wanted to kind of pierce through and have some sheen on it, that's what I did here. Some really light compression. You see the ratio is only at 1.7. I don't like heavily compressed vocals to begin with, right? So there's not much of that going on here. The gate is on because I record right here in this studio, which is in my basement. And behind me, you know, to my left is actually the room that has the furnace. Sometimes that's going off. There's a dehumidifier, maybe about 20 feet from where I'm sitting right now. When I'm not actually singing, I absolutely like to have the gate there to kind of like, all right, let's get rid of noise where we can, because I can't always do it, but it's nice to do it when we can do it. So that's what's going on there. After the R channel, the next thing I have is this reverb, okay? This is like the default hall reverb on the R-verb from Waves. I think maybe I have the gold or the platinum, I don't remember, one of them. Yes, I actually pay for all my plugins, and I want to say that because I didn't start that way, right? At 19, when I built my first computer and built out my first home studio, you know, took the bed out my bedroom, put in a couch, and kind of set things up at my mother's house. All my plugins were bootleg, all of them. I had a bootleg copy of Duendo and everything else. Everything was bootleg. As I grew in the game, I made sure to reinvest, and part of that reinvestment is to everything that I had a bootleg version of, I bought a real version of. So I want to encourage all of y'all. I know how, I'm not going to sit here and tell you if you can get your hands on a copy and you're struggling not to do it. I'm not going to be the person to tell you that. Somebody else will, not me. Go ahead, do what you got to do so you can make great music. However, when money comes in, guys, go ahead and get the right thing. Do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? Think about your craft, reinvest back into it. The tools that help you get to where you got to, you know what I mean? Go back and pay for them, you know? So, you know, I probably had like a bootleg Horizon or Mercury bundle of Waves, and I probably still have the disc around now. I don't use it, right? I have paid versions. I know I'm talking a whole bunch here, but that's some good information. So I encourage y'all, go out, pay for the plugins that you use. All right, but here we go.
Everything you feel and everything that you need.
So that's auto tune.
When your body's calling, it's calling me.
Very muddy right here without the R channel.
I'm gonna let you flaunt everything that you want.
Put the R channel in.
I work hard and pay for
cutting through a lot more.
I was made for it.
Next thing, we've got our reverb, so I'm gonna play that for you.
Everything you feel and everything that you need. When your body's calling.
Right. The next thing we have on here, this is like a plugin that I'm in love with, all right? I truly am in love with this plugin. I don't use it half as much as I used to. I think the Made For It track is probably from the earlier part of this year. I was still kind of using this a little bit more. But I love the replica plugin from Native Instruments. So it's almost kind of excessive in the track once you hear it.
It's calling me, and I'ma let you flaunt everything that you want. I work hard and pay for it. You know I was made for it. Everything you feel.
It's a little excessive, but I really like this plugin. I'm just in love with it. So it's easy for me to go overboard with it. And then lastly, I have on this channel, I have the RVox, right? Which again, I said I don't really like over compression, but I like how the RVox gives additional presence to my vocals. So that's why it's on.
Everything that you need. When your body's calling,
Yeah.
it's calling me. And I'ma let you flaunt everything that you want.
Yeah.
I work hard and pay for it. You know I was made for it.
Right. So you obviously hear the difference in the volume. I love the way that it gives additional presence. And so yeah, the RVox is something that is on every one of my vocal chains. There's never a time that I'm doing a vocal track and the RVox is not on there. In addition to that, right, I have all my vocals going to a vocal bus, and on the vocal bus, all right, we're over here, I have the doubler and I have the Q4 EQ. Okay, so I'll click into the doubler so just you can see what's going on here.
Everything you feel and everything that you need.
These are background vocals, but I only have one track, right? I don't want to go through the trouble of creating multiple tracks for this background vocal, especially not being a singer. This is an easy cheat, even if you are a singer, and if you need to turn around a song really fast, you don't have time to stack. Here goes the doubler, right? Everybody's familiar with this plugin. It's old school waves, so y'all familiar with it. I gotta tell you, probably. I can still remember my first paid engineering gig. This was probably the most heavily used plugin on the vocals, was the doubler, right? Because the vocals that I got came in, they didn't have, the stacks weren't there, right? And I needed to work magic with it. I used the doubler for it, and that was then, and I still do it now. Because these were background vocals, what you'll notice is I actually decreased the gain on the main, right? The main vocal, I decreased the gain here, all right? So it's not as powerful, right? And I've kind of staggered the gain for the left and the right so that I do have more of a wider background vocal. It sounds like multiple people singing. You'll see the delay. This is only 10 milliseconds, which is not huge, right? It can still be heard. Obviously, the 23, you hear a little bit more. Got a roll off down here. I don't like doubling low, these low frequencies. So obviously this is rolled off. And then, yes, I've got a little boost over here at 1K, 4K, again, on the doubler. So what you were hearing before is going to sound even crisper now.
When your body's calling, it's calling me. And I'ma let you flaunt everything that you want. I work hard and pay for it. You know I was made for it.
So now I'm wide. And the only other thing that I have in here is this EQ. All right, so by adding in the 4-band EQ, which by the way, I'm only using 2 of the bands for the EQ. What I've done is I've cut out some more of that presence that was created by the RVox, right, earlier, and whatever was then duplicated by way of the doubler. So we're going in here. I've rolled off the bottom end again, and then cut back right here between 450 and 500. Right, so now it's kind of thinned out my vocals a little bit. This is on purpose because they're background vocals, and for what I'm doing with this track, I kind of want them to be thinned out a bit. So that's what happens here. So my final product with my background vocals now sounds like this.
I work hard and pay for it. You know I was made for it.
Right. So cool. The next thing is going to be, the next thing we're going to look at is going to be my main, what I called my lead track, but in actuality, it's the ad-lib track. Depending on how you look at this, there's a lot going on here. So if we start at the top, I'm actually going to turn everything off. So we start with the auto-tune. The setup is the exact same as it was with the background vocals.
You feel I was made for it. 'Cause I was made for it. You know I was made for it.
So you can see my auto-tune is working very hard. Again, not a singer, but working extremely hard here. I've got the same situation that I had on the R channel previously going here on my main vocal. So let me play that back for you.
You feel
Turn it on.
I was made for it.
Again. Now I've kind of cut out a lot of mud.
'Cause I was made for it.
Added a lot of crispness back up here. That 4K, the 12K.
You know I was made for it.
So that's where we are there.
You feel
The reverb, same situation.
made for
It's
it.
the exact same reverb.
'Cause I was made for it.
Then we have the replica. Again, I told you I'm in love with this. And it worked out well for this track.
You know I was made for it. You feel
The doublers
I
here.
was made for it.
This doubler's in mono, guys.
'Cause I was made.
All right, so there's
for
no
it.
changes here. Because it's not
You know.
a background vocal, I don't want to spread all over the place. So I have the mono doubler. It's still being doubled, right? I still have delay in here to kind of beef up the vocal, but it's not spreading all over the place. And you'll notice that I haven't made any changes to the direct voice. So it's still at 0, the direct voice, right? And then voice 1 and 2 are significantly lower, about 8 decibels down for both of them, compared to what we had going on with the background vocals. So when we put in a doubler, it sounds like this.
You feel I was made for it. 'Cause I was made for it.
And you can kind of hear that those additional voices. Again, when the music's playing, it's not as pronounced as it sounds right now with the solo. So it's kind of like a trick. I've used this trick for a very long time to kind of, I don't want to call it beefing up vocals, but to kind of get a double feel of those vocals as well with a slight delay using the doubler. That's what we have going on there. Next is going to be the RVox. All right, as I mentioned before, it's on all of my tracks.
You know.
You'll hear the big change right here.
You know I was made for it.
That's significant, right? That's a significant boost. So I'm using the RVox for that. Then instead of the Q, instead of my extra EQ being on a separate bus, it's right here, all right? So I still have some roll off of that RVox. I know that there's going to be some moneyness. This time, instead of between 450, 500, I'm right about at the 400 mark, all right? I'm pulling down slightly, not a whole bunch, about 3 decibels down, all right? And then I've also created some peaks here around the 1K range and the 7K range between 6 and 7, all right? Very slight, just a single decibel, all right, for what I was hearing in the room at the time when I was mixing it in with the music. Last thing here, the vocal rider, all right, to kind of keep everything balanced. Again, yeah, as I mentioned before, I don't like over compressed vocals. I don't like too much compression on my vocals, period. So using a vocal rider kind of helps. I'm gonna play it real quick just so you can hear what the EQ is doing.
I was made for it.
Yeah.
'Cause I was made for it.
So here's where we are right now.
You know.
Vocal rider.
You know I was made for it.
And the vocal rider's just in here right now, basically handling the peaks in my vocals, making sure that I'm pretty much balanced throughout the hook. I pretty much think it's just the hook, all right? Making sure that I'm balanced throughout the hook without having to do a whole lot of compression with my R channel. So this is everything that you see in this channel. That is it. Eight different plugins in here. My auto tune, my R channel, my reverb, my delay, my doubler, the RVox, an additional EQ, and then the vocal rider. But when it's all said and done, this is what we have between those 2 tracks. So I'll just play just the vocals for you.
Everything you feel, and everything that you need. I was made for it. When your body's calling, it's calling me. 'Cause I was made for it. And I'ma let you flood everything that you want. You know I work hard to pay for it. You know I was made for it. Everything you feel.
Right. So that's what we got there. And obviously, a lot of these changes that were made to the EQ, etc., happened. Like, I'm not just mixing the vocals by themselves. Obviously, I'm in consideration of what's going on with the rest of the track.
You feel and everything that you need. I was made for it. When your body's calling, it's calling me. 'Cause I was made for it. I'ma let you flood everything that you want. You know I work hard to pay for it. You know I was made for it. Everything you feel.
Now, here's what I will say. Well, as hopefully this is helpful to you. Y'all saw the vocal chain. This really worked for this song. I will tell you that I don't have a vocal chain on any of my other songs that looks exactly like this. Auto-tune is very common in my chain. R channel, a reverb, a delay, right? Very common in my chain. A doubler, using the RVox, right? Normally don't have an additional EQ on the back end. Vocal rider I use sometimes. However, the way how everything is set up, how aggressively pronounced that high end is not typical for when I'm when I'm mixing vocals. So what you saw here is not very common for me. But again, it was for this song, and it was the way how it sounded. It kind of created the sound that I wanted. So in any case, I hope this was helpful to you. All right. If you have any questions, comments, definitely leave me down some information in the comments. All right. If you haven't done so already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and everybody crescendo. Keep getting better, get bigger, increase in intensity. Until next time, it's your boy Rev checking out.